Aloha! Welcome to Departures to Alpha Centauri, sponsored by the United Galactic Federation of Planets. My name is Merlin, and not only will I be your tour guide tonight, but I'm also your magician. This is our Halloween show, you might say, and this hat was given to me several years ago by my grandson, Chase, after he and his dad took a trip to, guess where? If I put it up here, you can kind of see why. You might tell where this came from. This magician's hat has mouse ears. They took a trip to Disneyland, and he was kind enough to get me a magician's hat. So it seemed very appropriate that I should be both a tour guide and a magician for tonight. This is a level 2 program, and as you may notice, I'm wearing a plaid shirt tonight. Those of you that have followed my shows know that the plaid indicates level 2. Now this program is PG-13, or just G, I guess, and it's good for it's appropriate for all audiences, so parents don't need to worry about their children. But it does involve angels. And as you can see, we have an angel on this side and an angel on this side. We're going to stand by tonight. The name of this program at level 2 is Flossie, Fizzled. Not. Let me emphasize, not. Now, if you notice over here, I have a newspaper in Hilo, Hawaii. It's the Hawaii Tribune Herald, and the headline says, Flossie fizzles. Well, I'm here to tell you, no. As far as everybody in Hawaii was concerned, it fizzled. But when it comes to the angels and to our organization, Flossie did not fizzle. And I'll tell you more shortly. This is a live program, and those of you that are looking at your TV screens can see the phone numbers down at the bottom. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the keyboard over here, the telephone keyboard. So if people call in, I'll be glad to answer your calls. And please do. You're welcome to ask me questions about any of the programs in the past and about tonight's program. In a minute, I want to talk to you about something that just came out last Friday that's absolutely awesome. In fact, let's put it up here. It's a movie called Gravity in 3D, and it's a super movie. So you folks may have some comments about that, and I'd love to hear them. Continuing, this program, it will be rebroadcast every Tuesday on XS Tucson, starting next Tuesday, and the time is 3 in the afternoon, and it goes from 3 to 4. I also have another program that starts at 2:30 that's under the title of United Galactic Federation of Planets. So you can also catch that one at the same time, in a sense. This program is number 4.24, and I'd like to apologize for the last 2 live programs. In August, I missed my Friday evening program because I got stuck in Hawaii. I'm retired from an airline, and I travel standby, and the week that I planned to come over to do the show, I could not get out, and I was literally stuck on the Big Island. So I missed the August show, and then last month, in September, my wife had a medical problem, had to take her to the hospital, and I needed to stay with her after that, so I wasn't able to make it back to Tucson in September for that program. But I'm here now, so you've got me for the next 45 minutes. I had planned to have a good friend on tonight's program. His name is Ernie Menahuni, and many of you here in Tucson may recognize that name. Ernie is a celebrity in Tucson. He has hula shows that he puts on all over the community, and he just happens to have an engagement right now over by City Hall in the park. His hula halau is performing, and he's entertaining along with them. So he couldn't make it tonight. We had talked about it before, but he forgot that he had this program. So I'll try to get him on later programs. Ernie is from the island of Kauai, and he helps to continue our theme of Hawaii. Hawaii plays a very important role in departures to Alpha Centauri. In July, I did the program, and I tried to tell you about all of our islands, their different names, and interesting facts about them. And Ernie would definitely add to that storyline. Ernie was the opening act in Las Vegas in the 1950s for Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, a lot of the other well-known celebrities. And he has some incredible stories to tell. And I'm sure that you will enjoy hearing from him. And I will definitely try to get him back in the next couple months to have him join us on the show. As I mentioned, he's 90 years old. He turned 90 in January. He'll be 91 next January. And he's in great spirits. So we're very fortunate to have him with us at this time. And I'm sure you'll enjoy his contributions. The theme of this show involves a program that I did last year, just before Christmas, on December 8th, 2012. The name of that program was Flossie and the Beasts. And in that program, I talked about my grandmother, whose nickname was Flossie, and about two beasts as well. I'd like to go back and review that as we get further into the program. But before we do, let me talk about Gravity in 3D. My wife and I went to see it last Friday at our theater in Hawaii, and it is awesome. I would recommend everybody go see it and see it in 3D. The filmmakers have done a brilliant job of putting you in the scene with them. All kinds of stuff comes floating at you. And then the scenes of the earth below are just awesome. I don't know how they got them. I think they must have asked NASA for footage of the earth rotating down below us, down below the characters. But it's very, very, very entertaining. Incredibly, there are only two actors in the whole movie, George Clooney and Sandra Bullock. We hear some other voices, but those two are really the only people in the whole movie, and it revolves around them. Now, what I have is a spoiler alert. On the other side of my sign here, it says, push mute button. Now, I'd like to tell you folks a little bit more about the movie, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone. So what I'll do is show spoiler alert when I'm going to say something that might spoil the movie for you. And if people call in and want to talk about the movie, then I'll also put up spoiler alert. So those of you that do plan to see it can push your mute buttons and not hear what we're talking about. You'll see us, but you won't hear us. And then when we're done, then I'll roll it back to Gravity in 3D. And let me mention once again, this is our Halloween program. So for those of you that have just tuned in, that explains the hat. Halloween is this month in October. And since this is my only program live in October, this is our Halloween show. Happy Halloween. Oh, there's a phone call. Aloha, who's this?
Hello, my friend. It's Mr. Bill.
Oh,
How you
Bill.
doing?
Just great. I'm glad to hear from you.
Yeah, remember, it was almost a year ago. After your program, I met you in your the editing room.
Right.
And we were talking, and I was asking you about that episode that you were going to do, where you actually showed the device that you built that would transport you to other dimensions and other time frames.
Right.
Did you ever do that, or did I miss that?
Actually, yes, I did have that on one of the programs last year. I'm trying to remember the name. I think it was called 10 Months, and it talked about the different types of transporters. I actually set up one of them here in the studio behind me and demonstrated how you roll it over yourself to climb into it, and then you roll it off yourself to climb out. And
right. And if I'm not mistaken, you made that out of PVC pipe?
That's correct. 1/2-inch PVC. It uses threaded 1 foot, 2 foot, and 3 foot PVC pipe, and a bunch of PVC fittings. The PVC fittings can swivel, so as you put it together, it goes together real easily. And since you mentioned that, just in the last couple of weeks, I've been told to build a 3-compartment device. It's very similar. It uses the same fittings and the same type of pipes, but it will have 3 compartments. And this is for some other folks that are coming into our world.
Well, I know you're a flat-out engineer. I've seen your programs on Hawai'i, the shape of the islands, and you're a man that's definitely into geometry, gematria, and I would love for you to give me a call sometime here at my home phone. I have my own program down there at the studio called Fiction Asia Disclosure. So
right.
I touch on a lot of subjects that I really can't share with other people. So
right. Well, I'd be glad to talk to you some more. To be honest, I'm not the engineer. All these designs and devices have been given to me by...
Yeah, well, you know who the engineer is.
Who's
the
that?
engineer is the creator.
That's...
We are all students and scholars, and what a great answer. That was great.
We have an organization called the United Galactic Federation of Planets, and the Federation is really my source of everything, because I will guarantee I don't have the smarts to make some of these devices that I've been told to make.
I know.
And
I do the same thing. I simply observe nature, all the bugs, all the animals, all the rocks. People say rocks are dead, and I say no. Even rocks themselves have a life in them.
Yes.
So, hey,
yes.
I like the hat.
Oh, thank you.
Getting into the Merlin aspect, and I won't even go there, but I would love for you to give me a call. Could I give you my home phone number? Or would it be better off the air?
I can. Yeah.
I don't care who calls me. I love to talk to people.
It's kind of up to you, but I can also get it from the staff here. I'm sure they have it.
Okay,
and you know what?
Yeah, go down to the front desk, and it'll either be Lisa or Vicky.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, your program on Access Tucson on the website lists as producer, it'll list your name and your phone number.
Oh, yeah. I am producer, director, writer. Everything that I put on my program doesn't come from my opinions. It comes from truth.
That's the way, yeah.
It's so easy a caveman could do it. Okay, hey, you be good, okay?
Okay, well, thank you for calling, Bill.
Okay, and remember, get my number from the front desk, okay?
Yeah, I will. And call again next month, too.
Yeah, I'll have you over to my ranch. I'll cook you some ribs and salad, and we'll sit around the fire, play guitars, and we'll lie to each other.
Lie, there. That sounds great.
I'm just goofing on you. You be good. Adios.
Adios. Aloha. Ahui ho. And speaking of sitting around the fire, having something to eat, I just brought in ginger chicken for our staff here, for Lisa, the 2 Vickies, and Eric. They're extremely nice people. They're doing this as a contribution, you might say, to the community. All of us producers are essentially just volunteers. We're residents of Tucson, and we get to do these programs. But our staff here is very helpful and generous. So I always do whatever I can to pay them back. And I make ginger chicken from Hawaii that is actually pretty tasty. You can almost smell it in here in the studio. But it's good stuff. But thanks, Bill, for calling. Anyone else, please give me a call. We have 34 minutes left in the program. As far as our movie, Gravity, in 3D. The Federation has some comments about it, and this is a little funny, but I'm going to have to warn people, if you don't want to hear their comments, push that mute button. Spoiler alert. The movie is brilliant. It's beautifully done. The 3D is unbelievable. Stuff is coming right at you. But they have a bone to pick about a couple scenes. In the beginning of the movie, there's a satellite, a Russian satellite, that somehow gets destroyed, I think they said by a missile, and all kinds of debris comes flying at them, and it ends up destroying the shuttle, the International Space Station, and the arm that Sandra Bullock is out on the end of. She's working on the Hubble Space Telescope, and all these metal pieces come flying at them, and they're coming fast. They're coming 100 miles an hour faster than they are, and when these pieces hit the shuttle, they destroy it, and it also destroys the space station and the arm that she's on. Well, there's a problem with that. And the Federation has reminded me of this story. Now, remember, the guys from the Federation are from beyond our world, and they travel back and forth. They're like astronauts. So they understand orbital mechanics. And the way orbiting works is that you select a speed, and then whatever speed you're at, you will end up in an orbit, and you'll go around the Earth at that speed. If you speed up, you'll go further out to an orbit that's further out, and if you slow down, you'll come back in, and that's how they actually re-enter. They turn the capsule or the shuttle around, and they fire the retro engines, and it slows them down, and they come back into the Earth. So anything that's in a particular orbit will always be moving at the same speed. Well, in the storyline, this satellite is destroyed, and all these pieces come flying at them and cause all this damage. Not possible. Those pieces are moving faster. If they're going to be still orbiting the Earth, those pieces would end up going further out in space. Now, the satellite might have been in the same orbit that they were in at the time it was hit, but as those pieces accelerated, they would have moved out of that orbit and gone further out. So in a sense, there's no way that they could have been clobbered by all that debris in their orbit going the same direction. Now, the exception is if the objects were coming down. In other words, if the objects were not in orbit, but were actually coming towards the Earth, like a meteorite, then that could destroy. That could cause all kinds of damage. But they'd only encounter it once as it first came in. And in this movie, it shows them going around the planet, and each time they encounter the debris field, it causes more damage. That was the first one on Spoiler Alert. And let me go back and explain what's going on. For those of you that are just tuned in, we're talking about the movie Gravity that came out last Friday in 3D. It stars George Clooney and Sandra Bullock, and it's an outstanding movie. And I strongly recommend everybody go watch it because it's a lot of fun to watch. But I'm providing some input on some of those scenes. And in order not to spoil the movie, for those of you that do plan to see it, I'm warning people about a spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear the Federation's comments about the movie, push your mute button. So the second consideration deals with George Clooney being held by Sandra Bullock on the end of the tether. They have been able to get back to the space station where a Soyuz capsule has popped its parachute, and there's a bunch of ropes that are kind of flailing around. And George Clooney has the jetpack, so he's the one that's been able to get them both back to the space station. But they're moving at a speed. Oh, somebody else. Okay, here we go. Hello. I hear you.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question.
Sure. Who's this?
Why do you think they make all these movies?
Why do they make movies?
Larry.
Oh, Larry. Hi, Larry. But what are you asking
Yes,
me?
sir.
I didn't.
Why do you think Hollywood makes all these movies?
Oh, they make them to make money. They make lots and lots of money. And they're fun. They're entertainment. They're wonderful to watch.
You really think it's entertainment?
Of course it is. I just watched Steven Spielberg's E.T. last night, and they came out with the 20th anniversary edition back in 2002, and he's talking in there about how Universal only paid $10 million to make the movie, and yet just in the U.S. and Canada, the movie made $350 million. And he did it as a labor of love, because he says the characters in the movie, Elliot and the other kids, are kind of like he was when he was that age. So sometimes they make movies just because they like making movies. Other times they make movies to make money.
Oh, okay. Well, but I want to tell you is you're steady watching these movies, man, but there's a whole nother situation going on right in front of your backyard.
That's
And you so been on the entertainment and all this exploration that's going on in space, looking for water on planets, with your money, taxpayer money, with our taxpayer money.
Well, let me add something
they
here.
messing with folks out there, other intelligent life. And who do you think they're building all these weapons of mass destruction for? To destroy people on this earth?
Right. We are very stupid when it comes to weapons. But as far as spending money, you do realize that there's no more manned space program for the United States. The space shuttle was retired last year, and we don't have any way to put men in space anymore. So we're not spending money on the manned program. We actually have to pay for a seat on the Russian ships.
You. But they're not telling you. They're not telling you what they doing.
Well, yeah, there's lots of hidden programs in our government, and they're not even spending money right now. They shut down the government.
They telling you if you believe they're telling you they're not spending no money.
Well, they're spending money on the programs.
I got a bridge to send you in Brooklyn.
The Brooklyn Bridge. They do spend money on the programs that they want to spend them on. And the sad thing is that our country is now politically bankrupt. That's what the Germans call it. They're going to put us into bankruptcy.
That's a complete falsehood.
Well, our politicians.
That's a complete falsehood, because let me just tell you this. Let me just say this. The first thing that he said, the first thing that the man said was they're going to shut down the government. They're going to shut down the government, and then everybody who got a gun in their hand protecting the liberties of the government and carrying out covert operations on terrorists, according to them, they still being paid while everybody else on furloughs.
Right, and those of us on Social Security are probably going to get cut off next month if we do go into this bankruptcy, if we go into this debt ceiling thing. And I agree. If you had the knowledge that I have, that I've been given from the Federation, you would be absolutely horrified to know what's been going on in our country for the last 10, 15 years. Our politicians...
These people don't want... Listen. Okay, let me just say this. I don't know about your federation, but I will tell you that the intelligent life that's out there on these other planets...
Yes. What?
We can agree on that. Am I right?
Oh, yeah. And they're terrified of what's happening to us down here. That's why this program is about these guys.
And they're going to come down here and listen. And when they come down here, no, I don't think it's none of them people.
Well, you'd be surprised.
And I think you better I think you better go over to the Valley of Kings over there in Egypt.
Oh, hey, you're hitting the nail on the head. I'm just about to talk about
Okay.
Egypt and the Valley of the Kings and the Great Pyramid.
Okay.
That's part of the story.
And they colored them people. They colored them people in gold, but you know they were black.
Well, in a lot of ways, maybe the ancients were a lot
And
smarter
that
than
was
we
the
are.
first intelligent life on the planet.
Yeah.
So, like I said before, these people in this government with their technology, they way behind the technology of far what these intelligent life is on these other planets.
Right. I agree.
And you keep coming out here, you think they finna let them come up here and put democracy and everything else on top of them?
Right.
The same stuff that's going on this planet?
Yeah. I know things are getting worse and worse, and that's what my programs are
It's
about.
getting worse and worse for these people down here.
Right. Larry.
You understand?
Larry.
And
I should get on with more of this program, and I appreciate your calling in, but can you call me again next month? Would that be okay?
Sure.
Okay. Let me press on because I want to get more stuff in, and I appreciate your call.
Okay, go ahead. You have a wonderful evening.
You too. Aloha. Ahui ho. There we go. Okay, back to gravity. Let me just finish this last part of the story. I appreciate Larry's calling in. But we were talking about the tether lines. Now remember, spoiler alert, I'm going to finish this part real quick. They're tangled up in parachute cords. And one of the cords is wrapped around Sandra Bullock's leg. And it's slipping loose. And George Clooney is out at the other end of the tether now. He doesn't have any more rocket fuel left in his jetpack. And he's telling her, let me go. Release me. We're both going to die. If you continue to hold on to me, you're going to lose that rope, and we're both going to drift out into deep space, and we're both going to be gone. So he finally convinces her. Actually, he does it himself. He unclips himself. He's got a D-ring and pops it, and then he floats off into space. Well, here's the problem. Once you have retarded your forward motion, you don't have any more forward motion. The scene made it look like he was pulling on her. But in reality, they had both come to a stop because the cord had grabbed a hold of her, and they weren't going to go any further. So in reality, he wasn't pulling on her anymore. The pulling would have stopped. His forward momentum would have been retarded, and they could have both pulled back on that rope and got back to the space station, but they didn't. So that's a little guy. And it's minor. The main point was the movie is just awesome to watch. So I strongly recommend the movie. The head of the New York Planetarium, Neil, I forgot his last name, he was interviewed over the weekend about the movie, and he had criticisms too. He said, why isn't Sandra Bullock's hair floating off her head when she's in weightlessness? And okay, that makes sense. And he had another criticism, but I can't remember what it was. So, oh my goodness, another call. Let me catch this call. Hello? Who's there? Hello? Are you there?
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
Just great. Who's this?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I certainly can. Now remember, we have a 5-second delay, so you won't hear yourself until...
Yeah, I was calling about the movie,
Oh, good.
Gravity 3D, Sandra Bullock.
Right. Have you seen it?
I've seen it, and by the way, my name is Matt P, and
Thanks.
I just wanted to call in and give you a little review about that, and get your input on a couple things.
Sure.
So,
what you got?
Yeah, the movie raked in $60 million its first week.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
It's going to be $1 billion movie.
I think it's a little crazy, and so you got the departures to Alpha Centauri.
Right.
You know, that's the closest star to our planet,
Right?
and
Closest.
it's also 4.6 light years away. So
That's correct.
kind of impossible to get to. You know that, right?
That's correct. Using present technology, our technology won't get us there.
The technology won't go there.
Our current technology won't. If you try to use a chemically fueled rocket, it would take 50,000 years to go the 4.2, 4.6 light years. So we can't get there using our technology.
That's your time as well. And,
Okay.
I hope everything works out for you. Hope we get there to help the Centuria set up shop.
It's coming. It is coming. Have a good one.
Okay.
Aloha. Hoi ho. Hello, who's this?
Yeah, this is Rick.
Rick, hi there.
Yeah, I remember you were saying like November or October, November of last year,
Right?
that you were saying we had until December 25th to get off the planet. Does that still ring true?
I'm sorry. You're right. You got me. It was December 21st, 2012, and you're correct. All those programs I made talked about December 21st being the end of time, and I was wrong. We're still here. But you kind of got to give a little slack. The Mayan calendar was made up 5,000 years ago, and sometimes things don't necessarily happen exactly on the dot. So even a 1% fudge factor, like when they do polling of people and they ask people, well, do you want this done or do you want that done? They always have a margin of error of plus or minus 2 or 3%. Well, maybe there was a margin of error for the 5,000 years, and just 1% would be 50 years. 10% would be 500 years. 1% would be 50 years. 1/10 of 1% would be 5 years. So if we give them just a little bit of wiggle room, then maybe it wasn't necessarily December 21st, 2012. But I do believe we are in the end times. There's a lot more bad things that are coming. They're happening now.
Well, some of the bastards of the hidden empires and the deep mountainous areas of Peru. Now they talk about, they've dealt with space beings for a very, very
Yes.
long time, and
Right.
and a few of them that they dealt with on a positive note, and more enlightened beings anyway. They talk about that at a certain time that the elements were going to win over man because of the destruction of the earth.
Yes.
That
Right.
the elements were going to be in control, not the arms, not the nuclear weapons and the space technology that because we're sticking knives in the earth and we're destroying the water supplies, we're destroying the air with the chemtrails that and our food supply and all these pesticides that we put on, all this stuff is gonna, all the human rights violations and from the law enforcement, the militaries around the world, the governments, abusing the father's children of his realm, that
Right.
the elements are going to start being in control for a brief time.
You're hitting on
And
something.
it was going to increase to the point where it's going to change that all, what they're saying is that all negativity will be removed from the earth so that we can go into that 1,000-year period.
Right. And you're talking about something that I want to talk about tonight, Flossie Fizzles. There is something going on right now, and our Earth is in dire straits, and it's not global warming. And I hope to do a program. I'll probably do them live to tape, so there won't be a call-in. But there's something far, far worse than global warming going on. It's the reason we have all this crazy weather. We had a storm up in the northern part of the Great Plains last week, where it snowed in the Dakotas, and there were tornadoes in Iowa and Nebraska.
Yeah, well, we got the big hurricane going to hit India this coming tomorrow. It's like 700 miles wide. I mean, it's
wow.
huge.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that.
Yeah,
And then
it's going to hit tomorrow.
our hurricane's out in Hawaii, the two Flossies, the Flossie in 2007 and then the one just in August. Those were enormous. Our first Flossie was a Category 4, 1,000 miles across and 40,000 feet high. And we saw it coming right at us. It was like this giant drum. And that's why they closed everything down. I went down and convinced the mayor, you've got to board up the businesses and get the canoes off the beach and close the schools. And they did, because this thing was a monster hurricane. And had it hit us and continued with its energies, it would have literally destroyed our whole side of the island. Everything would have been flattened. Cars would have been flattened. The tires would have popped and the roofs would have been crushed by all this energy. But as soon as it touched the big island, it went poof and it vanished. And they can't explain it. It turned partly cloudy.
Well, I haven't watched much of your shows, but what do you think else is causing besides this global warming? Is it the HARP stuff gone wild on us or something? Or reversing?
No, something you'll never guess. Something they do not want to talk about. The government won't talk about it. The media will not talk about it because there is no solution. And it's terrifying. And I can give you a hint. It's called oxygen. And now that you're asking me this, I need to tape a show tomorrow. It'll go live to tape, and it'll start broadcasting next Tuesday. It'll be at 2:30, and maybe that's the one I should do next. To explain,
yeah, well, some of them have been saying we're going to be running out of oxygen.
We are. In Tokyo, there are days when the oxygen gets down to 7%. Now, right now, you and I are breathing 21% oxygen. That's normal. But anything below 15%, we start getting lightheaded and nauseous. They get down to 7% in Tokyo. And out in Hawaii, on our island, in Hilo, we have a campus of the University of Hawaii. And we have exchange students from Japan. And they're flabbergasted that Americans are not concerned. They have to pack oxygen. They will actually pass out and lose it on days when it's down to 7%. And then if you live in California and you drive a car and you're in the Bay Area or in LA, you have to get a smog check every year for your car. And the way it's done, the guy at the gas station puts a nozzle in your tailpipe and measures the fumes coming out, and he has to calibrate his machine in the mornings. And if the oxygen is less than, there's mornings when the oxygen will be at 12%. So even on the West Coast, we're showing depleted oxygen. And it's not going to happen. We can't survive if the oxygen is disappearing. And the sad part is we have pockets of bad air that are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And as they move across the planet, they're killing things. We've had all these bird kills. If you recall the last few years, we've had entire flocks of birds. Hundreds of thousands, millions of birds have fallen out of the sky and end up covering all the houses and the yards and the streets. They can't explain it. What killed all those birds at the same instant? And then we've had lake and pond kills where everything in the lake dies. The frogs, the fish, the dragonflies, everything floats to the surface. Well, it's these pockets of bad air. The animals can't take it like we can. We can survive on about half the oxygen, but they can't. And when a flock of birds flies into one of these pockets of bad air, they're goners. And even the ocean mammals, we've had whales and dolphins beaching themselves by the tens of thousands. Well, they have to breathe the air above the ocean. They come up the surface to breathe air. And if the oxygen is not 21%, they're dead. So we have this oxygen problem. And I'm going to explain it in future shows. It's very simple. Problem is, our scientists are kind of like stuck in their ways, and they don't want to consider other possibilities.
Well, this would landslide into a gravity problem, too. Maybe that's why some of the planes are going down lately. You know, they're having to basically change the runways, the flight of the runways a little bit each time because the degrees are going off.
Right. I've got two more.
Some reports lately as well.
I've got two more calls. Let me catch those. Okay?
Thanks.
Call next month. Thanks. Bye-bye. Aloha. This is Merlin. Can I get your name?
How you doing? It's Mr. Bill again.
Oh, Mr. Bill, what's up?
It was a great call you had there. Boy, I tell you what, man, you're right on the straight edge of the razor. You're talking about the elements and all the global warming and the ice age. Scientists never talk about the elements.
Right.
The elements themselves come from the word El.
Yeah.
Ancient E-L. El this, El that.
Right.
The Creator. The
That's
elements
true.
are going to do what they want to do when the Creator wants them to do it. There's nothing that mankind is going to do that will change that.
The word that I say at the beginning of every program and at the end of every program is aloha. That comes from Elohim.
Elohim?
Elohim.
Elohim, right, which means the many, right.
And El is who you just said.
L is where Baal, B-A-L-L, Baal, all the gods and goddesses all got their names from the original L, which is the Elohim.
That is correct.
I'll leave you with that, my friend. You're doing a great job.
Okay, let me catch another call. Okay, take care, Bill. Aloha, who's this? Hello.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, great. What's your name?
This is Marco. I got a couple questions.
Sure. Say your name again.
Marco.
Molokal.
Marco, M-A-R-C-O.
Malco. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so you have the tools and the gadgets to get to El Centuria, huh?
Yes, it's coming. It's all going to start.
That's pretty sweet, man. Hey, when you get there, can you say hi to Marshall Applewhite, Jim Jones, David Koresh, and all those guys for me?
Now, wait a minute. I'm not saying that they're going to be there. And I'm sincere about this stuff. This isn't just a joke. There have been...
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. When you get there, say hi to Marshall Applewhite, Jim Jones, David Koresh for me.
Oh, I know. There have been mass murderers in the past.
What you're doing is seems like Heaven's Gate 2.0, but only the good Heaven's Gate.
Well, the good news is, after you go to Alpha Centauri, you can come back. You don't have to stay there. And we actually hope people will, because we want them to come back and tell other people about how great this new place is, because you won't have problems breathing the air. We're approaching a time when you can't breathe the air. And if you can't breathe, what the hell are you going to do? Because...
Yeah, do you hope to meet aliens when you get there?
They're not aliens. They're humans. They're people, just like us. They may look a little different, but they're people just like us. And they love us.
No, because they're green. And they have teeth and stuff.
No, that's science fiction. They want to sell movies. It's all about selling movies. And the way they sell movies is to scare people. In reality...
Speaking of selling movies, check this out, man. Did you know that...
Well, the good news is we're all going to make it.
No, speaking of which, I'm sorry to cut you off, but did you know that the movie Gravity 3 grossed $60 million this year?
The movie Gravity does what?
Grossed $60 million.
Oh, $60 million, yeah.
This year at the
over the last
movie
weekend.
theater.
I know. It's going to probably do very, very well. And they've done it.
I got a question for you.
Sure. What's that?
At the ball, I got a booth, and I was wondering if you wanted to be Santa Claus and come up until Christmas time.
I'll wear my Santa Claus hat in December. I've done that for the last 2 years.
Man, I'm going to let you go, but until then, rock that Star David hat like there's no tomorrow, man. You have a good night.
Okay, Malco. Have a good one. Thanks for calling.
All right, bye.
Call next month. Bye-bye.
80.
My goodness gracious. Such interesting calls. Hey, I'm down to 5 minutes, but this has been fun. I love it. You guys call in. Any kind of question you want to ask. It shows that I need to make more shows. Everybody's worried. Everybody's concerned. And hey, there's an answer. There is a plan. We're all going to make it. The good news is we're loved. We're loved by the universe. They know what's going on down here. We've had tens of thousands of ships watching our world for the last 100 years. They know what's coming. They know that we're on a very destructive course. We've kind of like trashed our nest, and we're going to have to leave. But the plan is to get us out of here. We're all going to make it. So the point is, don't worry. Don't worry about it. It's going to happen. It's all going to be good. And these guys play a part in that, really. The events we're watching right now are influenced by them, if not actually controlled by them. I did an angel program at the very beginning, 2.5 years ago. I only did one because I was told, don't do that again. But angels played a major role in 9/11. Now, 9/11 was tragic, but sometimes things have to happen. Oh my, I've got lots of calls. Okay, here we go. Aloha, who's this?
This is Donna calling. Hey, Bud, I want to know, are those angels on your desk? Donna calling.
You got to turn your TV down. You've got to turn your TV down.
Turn it down.
Because all I hear is you've got a loop going. Your words are coming back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah,
See?
I hear you now.
There we go. Try again. We got 3 minutes. Are you
Are
there?
those angels on your desk?
Yes, they are.
And what part do they play in, your trips to El
Everything.
and your...
Everything.
Oh, they
Everything
do?
is about angels. It's all about angels.
Oh, yes.
We have been misled for a long, long time. Angels have
Yeah.
played an incredible role in our lives. I did some programs involving Dr. Frank. The one from last, I think it was November. Oh, actually, one called Ships 2 is about Dr. Frank reading from the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now remember, the Dead Sea Scrolls were written the same time as our Bible, but our Bible has been in human hands for 2,000 years, and it's been changed. All kinds of stuff has been taken out. Well, in the Dead Sea Scrolls version of the Bible, in, for instance, book of Ezekiel, Ezekiel's the guy that talks about the wheel within a wheel. In the first chapter of Ezekiel, there's only 29 verses. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's 42 verses. And in those verses, Ezekiel talks about a metallic object coming down out of the clouds and landing in front of him, and a silver pathway lowers down, and he walks up the silver pathway, and then he's carried up above the earth. He sees the earth fall away below him, and he goes on board this mothership that's up in space, where he has fellowship with angels and people on the mothership. Angels.
Well, how do you get to the point where you can, be transported to, another kind of dimension away from the planet Earth? How do you get to that point?
You're going to have 4 ways to do it. You have a choice of going in the arms of the angels. Now, I've done earlier shows where I talk about these 4 methods, the 4 methods of departure. If you believe in angels, you just go into their arms. There'll be 1 angel for each person, so it can be between 2 and 8 people. And you all stand together in a group, and poof, and you all disappear. Now, the good thing is you leave your clothes on. We're about to run out of time here.
Yeah.
But you can't come back. If you want to come back, you have to go in the hot tubs. And we're going to have these beautiful hot tubs all over the planet. And if you want to return, you have to go the same way you came into this world. When you were born into this world, you were naked and you came in water.
Wow.
You were inside your mother's stomach and her bag of waters broke and you popped out. When you leave this world, that's a protocol. When you leave this world, you have to go the same way. You have to be naked in water. That's the purpose of the hot tubs. And when you get to Alpha Centauri, you're going to be able to check everything out and see what a wonderful place it is. And then you come back. And when you come back, you'll be given a transporter. The guy earlier called about the transporter. So then you can actually go all over the place without ever having to be in a car.
That is so unbelievable.
It's wonderful. It's all good news. Oh, good night.